Oh, welcome everybody, and very happy to have you all here at the 2024 NYU Rory Myers State of the College. This is my very first one as dean of this remarkable school. So thanks to all of you who've joined us both in person, and we have some folk on Zoom. Since I've arrived here, I've said many times that it is such a privilege to be the dean of this remarkable place. When I look around this room, especially, I see so much talent, so much brightness, so much hope for our future. We're at a good place in terms of the school and thinking about where we've been, but also where we're going. We have a lot to celebrate, lots of creative, exciting people, and we have a lot of data to present. So you'll hear some data. That's usually the case, right? That you hear data. And everybody knows I like data. But that's not all we're going to hear. We're also going to hear a lot about how we got here, who got us here, why we got here, which means we're also going to hear some people and some stories and some learning about kind of what's going on here. So data informs our decisions, but people inspire our achievements, and together we make magic. So you guys have heard me talk about magic. So M, I think of as mission, and in particular, social mission. And so that's really for us as nurses, as educators, as scientists, as people, how are we making the world a better place? And how are we really connecting with what goes on in society, what affects patients, what affects their health? Not just about the physical stuff in the bed, it's important, but it's also about when people leave the hospital, when people are out in the world, what are the challenges they face? And how are we as nurses helping to make that a better place? How are we dealing with the world's challenges? How are we dealing with societal pressures? And how are we really thinking about making a committed, good thing for the future? A is academic excellence, and that, of course, is a duh. But I also think of the academic excellence in terms of how are we setting the standard for the rest of the country? How are we driving? This place has always been progressive. We live in the most dynamic city in the world, and this progressive place that's full of grit and full of vibrancy and invigoration. And so what does that mean for what we see? And how are we really the person that people are looking to say, this is how it's done? How are we building that academic excellence? How are we building ourselves as a leader in the country? G is global, and global is really thinking about broadening our world. So both within our school and within our city, this global city, we've got all of this rich diversity. Also got the world through NYU and its bigger picture of all the different campuses. How are we then positioning ourselves to think about us as global citizens and our students as global citizens? So how are we solving not just problems that affect people in New York? How are we teaching students about caring for people, not just in New York or US? But how are we really preparing everybody to think about these as global problems? The problems of one are the problems of all. And the more we solve my problems, it solves your problems, and your problems solve my problems. How we think about new opportunities and new ways to build the global. Innovation, obviously that's key, and that's really critical. How are we challenging convention? How are we sort of setting the paradigm? How are we thinking in new boxes and no boxes and outside of boxes? But how are we really changing things? How are we being innovative? And that can be in our research, and we hope it's in our research that we're innovative, but we also want to see it in entrepreneurship. We want to see it in teaching, and we want to see it in administration. Like, how are we not just going with the status quo, but we're challenging the status quo, breaking the status quo, and moving to new boundaries? So innovation, and then community. So how are we creating an environment that values everyone's contributions? It gives us space to flourish, to grow, and to really move, not just as individuals, but as a college. So let's get started with some of the data. So start with the budget, no surprises here. As you can see from our budget, we're very tuition driven in our model. 79%, 80% of our revenue comes from tuition, gifts and pledges. Another category, grant revenue is the next category, 7.6. I think at the university it's like 10% or 12%. So Gonna have some movement there. Endowment distribution, gifts and pledges kind of go together, but those are the other categories that show big. And shout out to Niche, because Niche is a driver of revenue within the school. So these are the places where our revenue comes. Obviously, for the future, thinking about how we diversify our revenue streams and how we think about adding to those revenue streams. So the innovation part's key for thinking about, are there other things that we can do that sort of change that dynamic so we're not as tuition dependent, and that we have other sources of revenue coming in. And that will be an exciting conversation for us to talk about and to think about where will we go and how will we move forward. On the expense side, you can see the most of our money that kind of aligns neatly with the tuition goes to paying for salaries. So human capital, people make organizations, right? People are there. So most of our money goes to pay for people. Other than personnel expenses are about 17%, 20%, and then the debt service is us paying back the money that we owe for building this beautiful building that we live in and that we're sharing today. I know people ask me, why weren't we at Kimmel? And I thought, why should we be at Kimmel? This is our building, this is our home. We should enjoy our building and be in our building, so we're here. The faculty enrollment data for students, 1,593 total students. As you can see, the bulk of that 912 is undergrad, and graduate students are 681. Of our faculty, we've got 72 full-time faculty. The adjuncts are 193. Diversity continues to be a huge strength for us, that 40% of our full-time faculty, tenure-track faculty are diverse. In our clinical faculty, 34%, and in our adjunct faculty, almost 40%. So diversity is a real strength for us with our faculty. Now let's go behind the curtains a little bit and talk about some of the people and projects that created Magic this year and how we want to build on them going forward. So we all know about Chloe Teeter. Yeah, I know. Chloe T is a fourth sequence student from New Jersey and a talented basketball player. Juggling the demands of being a college athlete and a nursing student wasn't always easy, but she chose NYU Myers because she wanted a full college experience. And boy, did she get it, right? As a member of the NYU women's basketball team, Chloe won a Division III national championship this past fall and got a chance to visit the White House and play in an international tournament in China. Oh, and in between all of that, she did a summer externship at NYU Langone Orthopedic Hospital. So Chloe's a real testament to all that we can be and all that who we are. Anna and Ria, I met, they were part of the LEAD Honors Program, and I met them, the LEAD Honors Program here at Myers, but I met them at the Columbia College Isabel Stewart Conference, the only two undergrad students there who were asked to highlight their work. And both of them presented those posters on the research that they had done as part of the honors program. Ria also is a gifted singer, and she at the Dean's Advisory Council holiday party sang a Sarah Bareilles song that brought people almost to tears. Very talented. So we've got students who are excelling all over the place, which is nice to see. These were eye-opening, horizon-broadening experiences for people, and Chloe is the one who said, these past 3 years have been an absolute incredible journey, and one that's brought me more than I could ever have imagined. And that's really what we see ourselves, right? Giving people bigger dreams than they can dream for themselves. Reimagining teaching and learning, this whole new undergraduate curriculum really aligned with future-focused competencies. The informatics is an example. We're increasing the clinical preparation of the students, equalizing the emphasis in the different clinical areas so they see a real balance. But the biggest part that I'm most pleased with is this reflection of this motto of NYU, with this in and of the city. How are we really thinking about social justice values, mission? How are we really helping them with this social mission? And many of the course titles have social justice in them, very excited. And it seems to be a thread through a lot of the courses. We're also really working really well with our clinical partners over at Langone to talk about new clinical models of education, again, leading the way. And that's that part of us is the innovators, the thought leadership that's really leading the way. And so DEUs are a model that's been used a lot. Our conversations really have been, what's the next iteration of clinical education that no one knows about yet? And how can we help develop that here at NYU so that the rest of the country is doing what we do. So we're having those talks. Have a real close partnership with NYU Langone Nursing. We did a joint leadership team retreat with their leaders, and we really are talking about how we integrate more and more with NYU Langone, which was the promise of moving to this building, right? Was that we were really going to take advantage of being up the street from the medical center with the dental school. So really working at how we build that promise. Other innovations that we have that are very cool. Brian Fasolka has that emergency nursing elective that I think the first student has gotten hired in an emergency room who did that course. So that's really cool to think about that we expose. And they do have part clinical or shadow hours within that course. Over the summer, Teresa Bucco and some of her students participated in a mass casualty experience at LaGuardia Airport, where they played the victims of a plane crash and were triaged by first responders in the New York Fire Department. When we think about the Future of Nursing report, the 2030 report, and it really talks about public health. We saw that with the pandemic, where we don't have as much emphasis and content as we could on disaster preparedness, emergency preparedness. So Teresa's work in this area is really hitting a critical need and really advancing something that we need to do. Ada added the disability content into clinical simulations. Ada's added all kinds of things into clinical simulation, which is wonderful because she's got the cultural competence pieces, the LGBTQ, and the disability. But that's the stuff that really hits that social justice core, that really makes our students make a difference. And then it's not just about the physical stuff, but it's about the broader. We're appreciative of that. And then adding some personality to pharmacology was really cool. So Kelsey Ann Breeder just this week told the Dean's Advisory Council about her version of hip hop pedagogy, which she uses to liven up pharmacology, which any of the nurses remember is kind of one of the toughest and driest courses in nursing school. Sean might be offended because he likes teaching that. But thanks to a 2023 NYU Teaching Advancement Grant, Kelsey Ann created Medicinal Media, an extracurricular workshop which provided guidance for students to create their own songs, poems, and memes about farm content.
Sitting in farm class, I don't know what they will ask. Beta blocks, what are they? They're two types, I hear them say. I don't know the difference, I ain't gonna lie. Started to cry, but then remembered that you can take beta blockers. But if you don't understand, use for heart rate and blood pressure. They end in LOL. Metoprolol safe for COPD. Propranolol not so much. And they can be given for atrial fib. Triple selective propranolol non-selective. B1 selective, B2 is non-selective. Triple selective propranolol non-selective. B1 selective, B2 is not.
Wasn't that cool?
Sitting in farm class.
Yep, I did it. So the results of this one, though, I think you can agree were remarkably creative, and not to mention that the students who participated did 4% better on their exams than the students who didn't. So isn't that cool? So how we meet people where they are. Development, we've got financial support for our programs and our students is critical, and the need among so many of our students is high. A large percentage are first-gen students or accelerated program students who've often exhausted their student financial loan options getting their first degree. This year, through 618 donors, we raised $2.66 million. Scholarships, we awarded $2.3 million to 171 students, but you recall me saying that we've got 1,500 students. And if we just take our undergrad at like 900, many of our grad have the tuition remission. That's still a lot of students we're missing. So we'll really be stepping up the fundraising campaign for scholarships and in particular for the accelerated students. So the impact of scholarships, um, sometimes it's easier to hear it from someone else than me. And so one of them is Umu Diallo. She's an accelerated student. She's graduating in December. And she's part of the reason why over the next year, we'll be working to create a scholarship program specifically for accelerated students. So,
Hello, my name is Umu Diallo. I'm a fourth sequence accelerated nursing program here at NYU. So in 2022, I unfortunately lost my father to COVID, and I was trying now to transition into getting a second degree into nursing. However, I was facing a lot of financial stress with maxing out my financial aid already through my first degree. Applying to NYU, I did additionally apply for a scholarship as well. And I was very lucky to be granted the Anonymous Fund Scholarship. Going through this made my life so much easier. It allowed me to perform at the best that I have ever had. And I achieved almost a 4.0 GPA since I've been here. And the scholarship gave me housing, allowing me to live on campus, and then as well as a meal plan, which helped out a lot, as well as a stipend for books. This allowed me to be able to solely focus on my studies, and for once be able to do the things that I wanted to do the most, which is to educate myself so I could give back to my community.
cool. Awesome, awesome. And we can hear from her that she's really clear about getting this scholarship. She admires scholarship that helped her, and 4.0 student, smart, bright, and really wants to be here, really will make a contribution. And she spoke at the Dean's Advisory Council meeting as well. And then the videotape, sorry, it wasn't always clear, but I know you probably, if in case you didn't hear, her father died when she was in her program, died of COVID. It really inspired her to continue pursue nursing. She had a biology degree, came back to Myers, and prior to the scholarship, major stress, not sure how she was going to pay for everything. And then with the scholarship, able to just focus on school, continue to excel, and is doing well, is what we want to hear. I think.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm like challenged. So when we talk about social mission and we think about social mission, it isn't just in some of the things like we're talking, it's also sustainability and planet. And I was so pleased when I visited with Niche to learn that Chloe Tam, who's the leadership program coordinator, was working on sustainability and getting Niche the Green Workplace certification. And I think sustainability, climate change is one of those areas that we really do need to be thinking about. How are we educating our students? How are we continue? And I know there's going to be a new certification, Center of Excellence with NLN coming out about this. But the idea that there's a part of us that will be Green Workplace certified is immensely important and immensely good. And then I also want to recognize Professor Chen Wan Ma, who is just a few weeks ago participated in an interdisciplinary discussion at Governor's Island, organized by New York's Climate Exchange. So that was also focused on how are we thinking about protecting the planet. And certainly this week, or this month, or a couple weeks, with all these hurricanes and storms, we're all seeing the effects of climate change and recognizing that we all need to help out with this. Global health, Allison Squires was also appointed this year to an international policy project on climate change and global public health. And she's the only nurse chosen to work on this initiative and project. Is that a video too?
In March 2024, the Academy of Medical Sciences and the US National Academy of Medicine launched a new bilateral policy project. The project brings together a group of future research leaders from different areas of expertise who want to explore the health and research policy implications of climate change. The project will provide the group with policy experience as well as connecting them to international peers. During the first workshop, the group came together to explore their commitments, hopes, and ideas for the project. The group will work together
over the next year to propose policy actions that the health research sector could take to address the challenge of climate change.
So we are already seeing impacts of temperature variation with premature births. We're definitely seeing a rise in zoonotic infections, and this all ties together into the situation of how are we going to integrate health, community, and system transformation.
Nurses are already being impacted by climate change. They're seeing it in every aspect of their work in terms of who they're serving, how they're working, the conditions, and they're seeing it on a global scale.
In March 20,
Got it. And make her run this time. It must be the last one because I finally got it a little quicker. Myers is committed to expanding our global, local learning opportunities for students in all of our programs. And through our short-term study abroad program, now in its second year, and here in the US through our new partnerships, we are seeing 38 students participating in events in Abu Dhabi and Accra in Ghana, 7 visiting international scholars from China, and 6 international visits from researchers and faculty from universities in Lithuania, the Netherlands, Canada, and Brazil. So we really are interested also in expanding that further as well. Our local kind of initiatives, our Howard partnership is paired here. And this year we had the privilege of having the symposium here. Last year it was in DC. This year it'll be in DC as well in the spring. We've had 2 successful, incredibly successful conferences as part of this partnership, and it's really focused on health equity. And just this weekend, students from Howard University and from Myers participated in doula training, an experience that Myers student, Amina Senior, described as enlightening and inclusive. She says, I'm currently enrolled in maternity lecture and clinical, and I'm excited to see how our doula course complements my studies. I truly value this pilot program for fostering meaningful conversations and broadening perspectives. So thanks to Audrey Linden for sort of leading up this part of this initiative. This one I'm really excited about. This is also a kind of local project. NYU this year, forget and step out and the light blinds me. NYU this year opened NYU Tulsa. And one of the first people we were one of the first schools they contacted because they were very concerned about maternal and infant mortality and morbidity in the state of Oklahoma. And in particular, especially when you layer on women of color, and with them having the historical Greenwood Asher district as well at Black Wall Street, as well as having, that was the end of the Trail of Tears. And so there's all these Indian tribes that are also located there, and multiple Indian health districts. And so they really wanted our work with, could we help start a midwifery program? Could midwifery be the solution to this problem? The laws aren't all supportive of the practice. So what we came to decide was that we would have this summit, this From Crisis to Care, Reimagining Maternal Child Health Symposium. And so we've invited key stakeholders, legislators, business leaders, third-party payers, variety, grassroots kind of constituents to all come together to talk about this problem of maternal child health and wellness in the state of Oklahoma, particularly the city of Tulsa, and how we might make a difference and how we might propose that midwifery will be a cure to this and a help for this. We've also talked about then having clinical experiences open for students because it's such a rich experience to see something very different. They're significantly less resourced than are we, and then having all of the tribes and all of the historical kind of melting pot would be a really good experience. So this symposium is later this month. Audrey's been part of the planning committee, Lyndon, to make this happen. Tia's been huge in the logistics and all the pieces, as has Stacia and Sasha, and all the midwifery faculty are involved in the planning. So we're very excited and looking forward to that and making a difference. Research, you knew that was coming. So 33 faculty researchers, 95 submissions, 12 million in total awards. And we've gotten more than 12 million. That reflects our a wide range of things in leadership, healthcare education. HIGN grant is 5 million to train 5,000 healthcare professionals to provide age-friendly care for older adults in the Bronx, while Beirut was awarded $4 million to continue her work on the links between oral health and dementia. Nicole Perez got a $842,000 grant from the National Institute of Minority Health and Health Disparities, and Tina Sarangani was awarded $250,000 grant from the Alzheimer's Foundation. So we're proud of all of our researchers and all the work that they do contribute in. Last week, boy, I'm making time fly, huh? Just last week, we learned all this exciting news about how many of Myers scientists are in the top 2% of world scientists. And yes, you heard me right, world, so it's huge. So Sean Clark, Audrey Linden, Allison Squires, Jasmine Travers, Amy Witowski-Stimfel, and Bei Wu. Phenomenal that we have this many people who are ranked in the top world scientists, and Bei is not a nurse, she's in the top world scientist, no nurse. Awesome. Myers in the News. We have a new webpage breaking soon where we're going to be listing all of the Myers in the News and all the news stories. And I'm so grateful to Carla for doing that, because I always have these meetings with her and Rachel, and we hear about all these great things that are all over the place, but we don't always have a place to share them as well. But Myers faculty, centers, and students were featured in 114 stories in media outlets across the nation, across the world. These are some sample of the headlines, and this is some sample of the where. Including some of our newest faculty. Jana Masseri Brooks was in Men's Health magazine talking about military suicide just the other week. And Laura Jalif-Pulaski discussing her SIDS research with the Los Angeles Times and NBC.com. And then Tina Sarangani, her Care Mobi app was featured in New York One News. So we've got lots of us all in the news, and now we'll have a new place on our website to be able to see all of this as well. Thought leadership. Our faculty are thought leaders in local, national, and international arena at the center of the most important conversations about the future of nursing, about nursing education and healthcare. And I often say that I really would love to be able to say that no major thing happens within nursing or within health that doesn't have a Myers person at the table making that decision and influencing, guiding that decision. Later this month, Professor Sasha Contarelli-James and Professor Delise Robertson will be panelists at a legislative breakfast on Black maternal health in New York. And earlier this year, Professor Jasmine Travers testified before Congress about improving long-term care, workforce shortages, and training. So we'll hear a little bit about Jasmine.
Chairman Casey, Ranking Member Braun, and members of the Senate Committee on Aging, thank you for inviting me to testify today. I began my career as a certified nursing assistant in a nursing home, and now I am honored to sit before you as a PhD nurse working to improve the issues I witnessed decades ago. The long-term care system relies on a workforce that is often unseen and unheard, known as direct care workers. These 4.8 million personal care aides, home health aides, and nursing assistants enter the home of your parents, grandparents, friends, and neighbors. They are the people who care for your relatives and friends in nursing and residential communities. They bathe your grandma and feed your dad with dementia. Without these critical workers, who would care for your loved ones? Would it be you? Despite the critical role of the direct care workforce, it faces significant challenges in recruitment, retention, and morale that threaten its sustainability.
Pretty awesome, huh? Okay, this one I really am stuck.
Chairman,
Yeah. Just when she started walking. Sorry. Our faculty are recognized nationally for their scholarship and leadership by dozens of organizations. We have fellows, we have editors of multiple journals. Sean Clark with Nursing Outlook, one of the prestigious journals within nursing. And we also have fellowships with NBNA, AANP, the Academy of Nursing, as well as Ada got the NLN induction to the Academy of Nursing Education. So we've got fellows, Donna Hallis, I could start naming all these people and it would take too long. Sally Cohen, we've got lots of editors, we've got lots of fellows in all of these organizations, and we're very proud of all of that, which puts us at the forefront of leading. The American Academy of Nursing, Maddie Mezzi, named a living legend. Awesome, incredible news, and a great testimony to the career that she's had with the niche and HIGN, and really just making elder care transformative. These other fellows, they are all newly inducted, will be inducted at the end of this month to the American Academy of Nursing. And additionally, we had 5 alumni who were also named fellows. Eileen Carter, who's an assistant professor at University of Connecticut School of Nursing. Francine Bono Neary, who's co-founder and president of Nurses United Against Human Trafficking. Dewey Brown DeVoe, who's Senior Director of Nursing and Patient Engagement and Experience at NYU Langone, and Ashley Graham Perrell, who's an Assistant Professor at Columbia University, and she also teaches adjunct for us. Cheryl Thaxton, Associate Dean and Chair of the Graduate Education at the University of North Texas Health Sciences Center at Fort Worth. So Myers has plenty to celebrate. This is from our Myers. We relaunched our Myers Recognition Awards this year, and we added some new awards to these. For the 2024-25 academic year, we plan to add a few more honors, and we also are going to move this event to Nurses Week, so that as part of the community, we can have our students there to celebrate, and when we do the Daisy Award, the students there, all those pieces. But this was very exciting, and our award winners are all incredibly deserving, and a lot of them were just landslide winners in this award, and we're very proud of them all. New faces and roles. So at this point, we have new leadership, and I know you all got the email, but I do want to take some time to publicly thank Sean Clark for all of the work that he has done. And all of you better clap, because he's returning to faculty with you, so you'll have to see him all the time. But John has done incredible work and as the executive vice dean of the school over the 6 years that he's done this role. And it's just been incredible to me. And I think even when he first started saying he wanted to go back to being faculty, I kept saying, no, you don't, no, not really. And it was more selfish for me because I just so rely on the good work that Sean does and the goodwill that he brings to everything, and the care and compassion. So thank you very much for all the work that you've done. Really appreciate it. We have a new Senior Associate Dean for Academic Affairs coming, Kelly Walker. She starts November 1. All very excited so that that part of our enterprise continues to thrive. And then new Executive Vice Dean, Audrey Linden. So very excited about those changes. We also have a search going on for our Chief Academic Business Officer. Very happy about that because we really need that person to help us think about how we're going to navigate the future and where we're going. And that search is up and running. We have new leadership at the next level. So Mickey Meadows Oliver is the new Assistant Dean for Undergrad or Pre-Licensure. Carolyn Bruno, Assistant Dean for Masters in Nursing Programs. Yep. And Kevin Hook as Assistant Dean for Clinical Operations and Innovation. Very grateful to have this layer also. And really excited about just increasing the number of people having conversations about the things that matter to us administratively so that we really can make things run smoothly and efficiently and effectively. Sim Center, Interim Executive Director of the Clinical Simulation Learning Center, Beth Latimer, doing a phenomenal job, and a dedicated education unit coordinator, Brian Fasolka. So those two are new changes as well. And then new faculty. We already have this incredibly talented group of faculty, and here we are adding more to our mix. And so any of the new who are here, if you'd either wave, yes, so people can see you. And we're very happy to welcome you all to the fold. So then, one principle of magic that's about contagious magic is that things that have been in contact for some period of time never really cease with their contact, which leads us right to alum. Because our alum don't leave us, they stay connected. We've got over 15,000 alum from 37 countries are represented. 63% live in this metro area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and 1% live outside the US. But they are very connected led by Janet, who does a phenomenal job. And our network is one of our best natural resources we have. Whether they're preceptors, they're mentors, they're donors, they're volunteers, or some combination of these roles, our alumni can be powerful storytellers and advocates for Myers, which is why we work so hard to keep them connected. 75% of them are actively engaged. That means attending events, volunteering, giving. And I think that makes sense because I think nurses were often doers, we're often part of things. 25 is the number of events with alumni that were alumni attended or were speakers or panelists. And this is from the Estelle Osborne, and when Ann Burgess came for that alumni talk. The popular events have been the Alumni Family Weekend, and this one's coming up soon, and we have a Sim Center open house as part of it. We also have the luncheon and the awards. So really excited. The CNO panel discussion, and that's really put on by the group of nurse and administration alum who stay connected and involved. The Estelle Osborne Legacy Celebration in the spring. Myers Marbles, we just recently had one with Madeline Nagel, well attended. I did one in the fall. People showed up because they wanted to meet the new person. Ann Burgess was a very popular event. And then volunteering at the Brooklyn Half Marathon and the New York Marathon. So we've had a lot of good connections to our alum. But we've also created some new traditions within the school. And over the past year, we spent some time thinking about new ways to create community, new ways to celebrate each other, big and small. So in the building, we opened up the new break area, which I was incredibly excited. I think we all were to have some space. And it's so wonderful. I always think Lance is having a fit because even though he put this all together in the ways he always does, it makes it wonderful. All the noises in his office, but every time I pass and I see people talking and I hear people engaged there, I'm like, yes, this is what we want. So this was fabulous and phenomenal for us to have. We've also had the ice cream socials. That's the one with Fidel and company from, was it Ralph's Water Ice? Right, Ralph's Ice. The taco lunches, really good. We recently had the rice and noodle, which sounded like a good idea at the time. Sometimes I say a story in my life, but I think we'll go back to the taco because the taco bar was so much better than the rice and noodle bar. Yikes. And then these on the end are from the graduation program. So we had a reception down here for our graduate students from the master's programs particularly. And I think there were DNP and PhD students there also. We gave awards to a person in each of the specialties. And then had a champagne toast. It was kind of nice because I was up on the stairs above, kind of doing the champagne toast. And this is one of our graduates whose sister flew in from Zambia. And but we had a photo thing, and oh my God, they took so many pictures. It was really fun. So we look forward to continuing, but making new traditions for us as we move. Life Beyond Myers. These are some more pictures from the event. The certification exams you can see are really high, and the fact that every single one of the one who doesn't have 100% is 96. That's phenomenal. So our graduate programs are doing a phenomenal job with our students, and the students are all moving on to great new jobs. Life Beyond Myers for the undergrads, really good. This 105 average salary, we are the highest paid entry-level degree at NYU. So there's no other graduate and no other school that's going to walk out potentially and make more than us, unless I guess they're independently wealthy or something, but nobody's working into a job. Our graduates are the highest paid, 95% NCLEX pass rate, and 95% of them are working within 6 months of graduation. So that's phenomenal outcomes for our students and phenomenal success. So as we build our success and move forward, I guess I want this to remind you to be our future's bright. That we've got lots of magic waiting. We've got lots of experiences waiting, but the future for Myers is bright. I'll take questions or comments if anybody has them.